Mr. Makura, one of the things that you say in the report that we just played now, Mahlatse's report, is that some of the things will have to be implemented immediately, pretty soon. And one of those, as I understand it, is the Integrity Commission. Take us through what the objectives of the commissions are, of the commissioner.
Thank you very much. Let me first say that the reason we are talking about organizational renewal being a decade-long program is because to change an organization and position it to take up new tasks under new conditions and any institution takes some time, but there are things you can't afford to delay, and one of those is to put in place this committee which we call the Integrity Committee, to ensure that all ANC leaders and public representatives live up to the expectation of ethical leadership. Yes.
All right, but how will it work? What will it do?
The Integrity Committee will, firstly, it will be composed of the veterans of the ANC. That's men and women who have been in the organization, in the struggle for very long, but those who themselves are men and women of integrity, who have established a track record of being people of integrity whose conduct is beyond reproach. That will be the composition of the committee. People who are fairly senior, who can call any leader, any member of the ANC to come and explain themselves, or if there are damaging allegations that impact on the standing and image of the party.
All right, but has it got the power to suspend somebody in case they are accused of corruption?
You know, because it will be a party committee, like any other party committee, it has got to have checks and balances, so it can't have absolute power, but it will have the authority to make a determination that if there are serious allegations or something has been brought to their attention that your conduct is not consistent with the core values of the ANC or the expectation of the conduct of a public official or a leader, if they come to that determination, they will be able to have the authority to recommend appropriate action. So we are introducing something really fundamental, because we have had in the period, especially since we came into government, we have had major problems about allegations that erode the standing of the party.
Yes. And this will apply to all members of the ANC?
Every member of the ANC.
If there are allegations against the president of the ANC, the committee will say, President, please come and explain yourself.
That's why the Integrity Committee will be made up of very, very senior people who have been in the party for long, not you and I.
So the president it can decide to say, well, President, we are very unhappy about these allegations, if it is the president or deputy president or whatever it is, and that we suggest that perhaps you take a leave of absence.
Because we're learning from what other parties that have been in government have been able to put in place, and sister parties that we have worked with, we have been looking at how they've been able to protect themselves from a situation in which once you are in government as a party, you attract to your ranks things that damage your standing.
As I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, already there's an Integrity Committee in Gauteng. Is it a pilot project?
That's what we call a pilot, because the decision was first made at the National General Council in September 2010. As you would know, that the Gauteng province made that proposal after studying the Chinese model of how the Chinese Communist Party deals with issues of corruption and protecting the image of the party. So that has been a working pilot. I'm confident that the National Executive Committee, which has been instructed to establish this committee within 3 months of its election, I'm confident that that committee will also review the experience of
the pilot in Gauteng. Has it actually ever recalled or dealt with any senior member?
You should know that that committee actually dealt with the issue affecting one of the members of the Executive Council. yes, who is also a leader of the ANC in the province. Because it is at a very early stage, we will share our experiences with the national leadership when the guidelines are developed, so that that is fed into.
But it will work
critical
along the
issues.
same lines as how we dealt with the Humphrey Memeze issue.
That was the first case ever in terms of that pilot in Gauteng. Yes.
Right, and another issue, and I'm going to bring you in, Professor. Another issue, of course, is the issue of cadre deployment.
Yeah.
The much maligned, much criticized.
Yes. You know, we have just dealt with the issue of protecting the image and core values of the ANC, which is the major decision of the 53rd National Conference. The second major decision from where we stand is about appropriate cadre policy, because what has been referred to as ANC cadre policy or deployment policy, we don't call that ANC policy. For example, where people who don't have the appropriate skills are deployed to do the job that they are not able to do, it's not consistent with ANC cadre policy. The starting point of ANC policy is preparation of someone who's going to be deployed to do the job. For example, if you want to deploy someone as a diplomat, they have to be trained. So the basic steps in cadre policy is recruitment, proper preparation, academic training is included, and is a very important part of that. Political training, so that the cadre, that member, understands the policies, the philosophy of the ANC, as well as ethical training, because leadership is also about ethical conduct, ethical leadership. So the full comprehensive decisions of this conference that we're now going to go out and implement a comprehensive cadre policy. What has been done over the past 20 years is because of the absence of cadre policy, rather than
but how are you going to change this? How are you going to change this? Because part of what happens, and we know about this, and you've reported on it, jobs for pals, for instance. How do you make sure that people who already have positions don't just employ people who are their friends or their family, but that they employ properly qualified people?
You know, we have run a democratic government for the past 18 years now. There is a big price to this issue of allowing anyone to fudge the rules, the procedures of recruitment and employment. And with regard to political office, there's a big price to pay if you bring someone into office simply because they are your friend or they supported you in a conference when they appropriately attuned. The ANC fully understands that now. So what we're going to do, and the National Executive has been given this full mandate, we shouldn't allow at any level in a municipality, in province, a national government, we shouldn't allow anyone in the name of the ANC to do that which has been done, which is basically to employ friends or put people who have no skills or capabilities to. That's
but
why.
How are you going to monitor? How are you going to monitor? Because I think that's the critical issue.
Yes, but that's what part of what explains the shortcomings in our service delivery is precisely that. How are we going to monitor? Because some of the major decisions we have adopted have to do with the capacity of the ANC at its headquarters, where we now going to have the monitoring and evaluation unit, which will be working on a day-to-day basis with appropriate capacity, with professionals, qualified professionals who will be able, the new DSG, Comrade Jessie Duarte, has already been working on monitoring evaluation. She has established that unit, but going forward, we're going to beef it up. We will bring very experienced people, some of whom have been in government, to work in that monitoring. And so we'll be able to track if any member of the ANC who is in a position of authority is abusing that by appointing unqualified people.
But the problems go a bit deeper, Mr. Makhura, because what will happen is, and you'll hear this, is that from this conference, people will go back and they say, well, we fought a bitter battle ahead of the conference.
Yes.
You were with the slate, I was with the slate, and there will be purging.
Now, let me tell you that in the nature of the ANC, contestation in conferences is as normal as breathing air, because that's That's what we have grown up in the ANC knowing. Internal democracy
should be normal, not it is as normal. Because in 2007, you know what happened in Polokwane. Afterwards, there were these allegations
but
right
there
across
was no
the board.
page. I can't say
the allegations, though, they were right across the board. National, provincial, local government people would say, "Well, you purging us because we were with Thabo Mbeki, or you purging us because we were with the other faction?"
Certainly, I remember that when we came out of the Polokwane conference, there was this major call made by the President Jacob Zuma. Then coming out of conference, and that call was repeated here. Both the president after the elections and then the deputy president, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, addressed conference with the same message. This is the nature of the ANC. This is internal democracy. Everybody should accept the outcome of conference, and people, ANC members, have a right to hold views on their own preferences. That is normal. And once that is done, leadership is elected, the whole organization rallies behind that leadership. There will be no purging. That's not in the nature of the ANC to purge. If individuals do it, it's not the ANC. So, and that should be stopped at any level, whether it's in a region or in a province. There shouldn't be anyone purged, because we've got the task, and that task is to address the pressing problems of poverty, unemployment, and
ensure that proper skills are deployed properly.
And that's why the issue of skills, the education revolution in the movement, in the party, is one of the urgent issues we are going to pay. So we have no time to be fighting, chasing one another. We have time to prepare ourselves to provide leadership to our society.
Professor Maluleke, how important are these documents? They seem pretty important to me.
Yeah, I think they are. Look, I like the sense of urgency that I hear in the tone of voice of Mr. Makhura, and I think that these are the right kinds of sentiments, and I wanted to say the right kinds of noises that are being made. I think the attempt to build an integrity rich organization, and the very notion of integrity, to put it at the center of what the ANC is all about, is a very, very important step, because there was a sense in many quarters that this notion is almost alien to some of the members who have been caught with their fingers, if you like, in the pie. So I think these are very important things that Mr. Makhura is talking about, the monitoring and the sanctioning. Of course, we await more detail as to what sort of sanctions will be applied if people are found. But even before you find people, what sort of mechanisms are going to be put in place to prevent people putting the organization into disrepute, and not merely wait for them to be to be punished. I also wish there was a little bit more honesty about cadre deployment. The fact that there has not been a de jure cadre deployment policy does not mean that there wasn't a de facto cadre deployment policy. The same thing about purging. The fact that there was no press conference saying we are now going to purge, it doesn't mean that the perceptions around purging are totally and always incorrect. But what I like when listening to Mr. Makhura to hear is that if these things exist at all, the ANC says now going forward we're going to make sure that they don't happen.